Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. The special treat for you today, if you're watching this on YouTube, because I am wearing a Santa hat. This is the Business for Builders Christmas edition, and when you see this, it'll be a couple of days when it comes out, a couple of days before Christmas. So we are really embracing the Christmassy aspect of this Business for Builders podcast. So if you're listening to this as you're flying down the highway between suppliers, or you might be just heading home or heading to work, you might want to catch us on the video because it's going to be remarkably more entertaining if you can catch what I'm saying. It's not every day I put on a thingy hat, Christmas hat. Anyway, so as usual, we want to deliver value. Appreciate you listening in again and taking a moment out of your busy schedule. We want to bring value. Despite the clowning around with the Santa hat, we still want to make sure that you can take something away that's going to be of value, that you can implement straight away, something maybe that you can consider that's going to help you in your business endeavors and to generate a better lifestyle for you and your family. I'm not sure if I mentioned last time, but on the weekend we had our award ceremony, which was unbelievable. It was just a terribly good time of getting together and celebrating each other's achievements. It was a great time to get the whole Smith & Sons crew together. And so I think we've got a few videos out on that in amongst the social media platforms. So take a look at that. Right now, I think as I sort of, mentally prepared for this episode, and being this time of the year, I thought, what is it that I would normally do, both personally, as a business, and certainly as a leader in the franchise general contractor sector? It's a time where, there's a few things that I like to do personally. Obviously, this time of the year is definitely a time where us general contractors take time out to recuperate. I think there's so much of a demand on our services throughout the whole year that we never really do enjoy some downtime. And, if you're in a business building phase and you're sort of within that, the startup phase, 2 to 5 years, I think that goes with the territory. But I definitely know that you want to be shooting to sort of remove yourself from the business to be able to give yourselves a better lifestyle. There's a reason why you go into business and take all the risks, and that is to, really return some of that investment in the way of some time to yourself and for your family. So, it's definitely a time of recuperation where I like to just sort of kick back and de-stress, maybe watch a bit of Netflix, do some work around the house or whatever. And certainly, if you're going to go and take holidays this time of the year, I know for me, when I look outside, I mean, it's snowy, and I'm not really a skiing, snowboarder type of guy. I know my kids are. But certainly when I was back home, it was definitely, from the 19th or 20th of December for a couple of weeks, the building industry did shut down. And it was a time where we spent a lot of time sort of sitting on the beach, knocking off a few beverages and enjoying, that time of the year. Because, where I come from, you would have the end of the school year, you would have Christmas time, and of course the kids have got, 8 weeks school holiday. So it was certainly a fairly joyous time, if you like. So what we want to do is definitely take time out. I know that sometimes it's easy for us to keep busy, but I think we've got to take stock of perhaps, and this is where you move from just recuperation, where you're going to sit back and the demands are less on you, which is always good. I find that business owners, they spend a lot of time working in the business, but they don't spend a lot of time working on the business. I find this time of year, even for me personally as corporate, I think it's a great time where I can sit back and start to, contemplate what happened this year. And this is where the next part of, as you're recuperating and sort of recharging the batteries, there's some clarity that can come with that little bit of a quiet time. And you certainly want to start to, not just recuperate, but you now want to start reflecting on that which you did this year. So it's a powerful time where you can get clarity. You can do some assessments as to your performance. You might have had some big dreams and some big goals and some things that you maybe did this year that were great and some things that you did this year that weren't so great. And so, recuperate, yes, begin to reflect and start to consider, what you did well and what you didn't do so well. And then obviously, when you've sort of done working out, and I think we want to look at those two things which I talk about often, which is the goals and priorities. And of course, if your goal is to build a $5 million business, but you destroy your family life in the process, really your family life is the priority. Building a business is not the priority, it's a goal. And so you want to make sure that you're going to build the type of business. And look, some guys want to build a $5 million business straight away. And I just think that's littered with destruction. If you try and push it that fast, so hard and fast in such a short time. Maybe you're an exception to the rule, I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't advise that kind of, expeditious growth. We all want to make more money, sure, but we don't want to do it at the detriment of perhaps our relationships with our loved ones, or even maintaining a good group of people within the business. Sometimes too much pressure on our crew because we know we can't do it on our own. Everyone wants to, enjoy their life a little bit on the way through, and they're not all as hungry as what we are as business owners. So we've got to take that into consideration. So, I think just reflecting and considering is certainly a good time. Like I said, if you spend too much time working on or in your business and no time working on your business, then next year will be an exact repeat of what happened in the last 12 months. So, I think once we've recuperated and we've reflected some and we've maybe highlighted some things that we didn't do so well, it's time to reset, and reset the goals is certainly important. I know some of my guys have not hit the goals that they wanted. There's some that have kind of maintained their position and they, did this year what they did the previous year. But there's definitely some guys that really have gone beyond, what they thought they were going to do, which is completely exciting as well. So I think it's important that when you are, and goal setting is such a huge part of the business. I'm already, got onto our guys about revenue targets for next year and talked about conversion rates and looked at, what sort of volume that they need to be putting out each week in the way of proposals and quotes to really, ensure that they stand the highest chance of being able to build the kind of business that they want to build. But then also temper that with, okay, is your ability to convert leads, is that in a very good position, or is your sales skills needing some attention? And so, there's all of these things that we go through. So I think if you're like me, the recuperation doesn't take long. You can do a fairly quick assessment and a reflection of what you did in the business this year. Where the time is really required is definitely to look at all of the data that you've sort of gathered, and a lot of that might be mental, but you might have some of that on spreadsheets as well. You might even take a quick look at your P&L and your balance sheets as well, just to sort of look at what's happening. And then, of course, look at the state of play. You want to be in a position where you can put together a work in progress report, because things might be looking good, cash at bank, but really there's some lingering things that might need attention. And so it's very much, what is your position today? What was it this time last year? And what would you change? And what do you need to accomplish in the next 12 months that's really going to improve your situation? Nothing more frustrating than going around 12 months and really being back at the same spot, unless that's what you want. If you just want to maintain your position, then respect, that's fine. But I know most of the guys that we're dealing with are wanting to really, grow that business and grow it in probably double exactly what they did last year. They want to do again. They want to do double that next year. So they're pretty hungry. And so, I think there's a good time where you can reset the goals, making sure they're in alignment with your priorities. Don't get too hungry, too greedy, too impatient, and want to really dive in and destroy it, but do it at the at the cost of a family's relationship. So I think probably when I start thinking about, if we talk about business metrics, I think you want to look at, what it is, what's your goal, and reverse engineer. So, just a little bit of a pointer, I guess. Something that I use is that if the guys say to me, hey, Max, I want to do $1 million in sales next year. So immediately what I would say is you want to generate around about $4 million worth of inquiry. I think out of that $4 million, you are going to dispatch or get rid of or eject about 50% of that inquiry. And then out of that 50% that's left, you're going to probably convert somewhere between 15 and 25%. So I think there's some calculations that you can do. And it's not just about pulling out a revenue number and go, yeah, I want to do $1 million. You've got to understand that you as a business operator have got to have the maturity and the understanding that comes with a business that generates that type of revenue. You got to understand that you cannot you cannot grow a business, let's say 2 or 3 or 4 times what it is today and still be the same person. You've got to understand that leadership is a responsibility that you must take on, and it's not negotiable. Your ability to lead is definitely going to be your asset, and certainly being able to deal with people, and people go through all kinds of things all the time. So you've got to be patient as it relates to the growth. And I think sometimes, business owners need to appreciate the fact that you've got to recognize when you've done all you can do. And then if you've done all you can do, you've got to be patient. You've got to let it come to you. I think there's definitely an evolution. There's a process, and you can't really short circuit that to a high level. I think it's a lot. We limit our own success. I often say the speed of the leader determines the speed of the pack. And so honestly, if your business isn't growing, or it's stumbling, or it doesn't seem to be moving forward, the first thing I would suggest you do is to take a look in the mirror. Because I just know that if my business isn't pumping the way that I want it to, or there's some deficiencies in the program, then I've got to maybe there's something that I got to do personally. And sometimes that means I've got to be patient with other people in the business, whether they're staff or whether they're my franchised operators, or even whether they're clients of my franchised operators. Sometimes I'm advising my guys to just hold your position, and just keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing the right thing. We don't control people's emotions. We don't control their life choices. We don't, control their opinions and things like that. So I think there's a lot to be said for growing a multi-million-dollar business. And it encourages me when I see major building companies, because usually they're generational. Usually they're 20, 30, 40, 50 years worth of data and experience that goes into really developing such a large brand. And you may know of building companies in your area that are just like that. And so, I think it's just a word of caution, that next year doesn't have to be the same as this year. And obviously one of the things that I subscribe to is the fact that we are a franchise group. We are the Smith & Sons clan is a powerful group of men and women that really do make a lot of our clients supremely satisfied with their projects. And I think there's a lot to be said. I mean, you certainly don't want to be like Tom Hanks from Castaway, when he ends up on an island by himself. And I think GCs a lot of the time, they get to this time of year and they're just glad that they got it over the line, and they're sort of wrapped up another year. But really, when they look back, it was just another year of surviving on this little island and talking to a volleyball called Wilson. And that's what we don't want you to do, and that's why we encourage the camaraderie, and we love getting together as a team, and we have a great time. So we work hard, but we play hard. And I think that aspect of the business is underrated. I think when there's a lot of my GCs have said this. They've said, one of the major attributes of the business that was really attractive to them was that you have other general contractors in the team and on the team that you can really tap into for some experience, some insight. And so, I think, I would urge you to get in touch with a coach or consultant, and you've got to be fairly selective in when you do that. Or alternatively, maybe just give me a call or send me an email at max@businessforbuilders.ca, and just ask me a few questions, ask me for some more information. And because it's this time of year where, guys and girl general contractors start thinking about what they did last year or the year just gone, and start thinking, well, am I going to do the same thing next year? Did I build the kind of business? You may have been super busy with, lots and lots of inquiry, and you might have done a few projects, but you didn't hit the revenue target, or you didn't hit which is more important, your net profit target. And so there's a lot of things that you can gain from a relationship with, a brand like Smith & Sons, or even a good coach or consultant who's got time in the business that can, help you really structure the business management side, and really help you develop that building company that you've always dreamed of. So yeah, don't sit on that island. I mean, when you think about that movie, he ended up on that island purely by chance. It was almost like by default. He didn't exactly get on that plane and decide he was going to end up in the middle of wherever the heck it was, Pacific Ocean, and end up on that remote island. And I think as general contractors, that's what happens. You literally, you go and get an apprenticeship as a carpenter, let's say, you go and get a builder's license, you blink your eyes, and you've been, you're mid-30s, and you're just wondering, or late 30s, early 40s, and you're wondering, where did that life go? But the ironic thing is that Tom Hanks, as that guy on that island, was always wanting to get back to civilization because that's where the life was for him. He was, I guess he was content for a moment that he's like, well, all I need to do is survive, and I need to, make sure my SOS signal's on the beach and ready to go. But he never was sort of setting up camp there to be there for the rest of his life. And I think there's a lot of us builders that we find ourselves in a situation that we really are not happy with, and we have no intentions of spending the rest of our life there. But because of situations and circumstance, we actually end up just basically sitting on our own little island talking to a volleyball. And we never are really, we're never happy because we know there's a better life out there and we've got to get back to the mainland. So my word of encouragement for this moment with this Christmas episode is that don't be a castaway, don't sit on an island, don't spend the rest of your life talking to a volleyball, but really make an effort, sure, recuperate right now, begin to reflect and to consider, what happened this year, but then also consider what you would do different. There's no such thing as a sure thing, but you'll miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. That's a Wayne Gretzky, and everyone that's Canadian knows that. I didn't know that. Jill just told me that, so that's awesome. But that's essentially what it means. And so next year, maybe your challenge is to, get into the mental space where you're going to take a few risks. Ask a few questions, start knocking the lid off a few different options. And especially if you've been in this game for 10 years or more, it's like, come on, by now you should have got something cranking. And you know what? You might be doing good revenue, but if you haven't got the lifestyle, something, your shit's broken as well. There's something that you're not doing that's not giving you the result that you've actually desired. And so really the reflection part of it is definitely super important. But when you reset that goal, please don't reset the same goal as you had for this year, and then don't do anything differently. You've got to change. You've got to get outside your comfort zone. You've got to take those risks. And ironically, on that movie, he took a risk. He put this sketchy looking raft together and tried to, get out past the waves. And of course, that didn't end well. But he was taking a risk. He always wanted to push the envelope because he had to get to where there was the real lifestyle that he wanted. So be encouraged, guys and gals. I trust you've had a good 2021. I trust you get some recuperation and some rest over the Christmas break and get ready to hit it hard in 2022. And be sure to reach out if you've got some questions about what we do here at Smith & Sons, max@businessforbuilders.ca. You can text me at 250-241-8866, or you can subscribe and you can like and you can leave some comments, and we will get back to you as promptly as we can. Wishing you all the best, you and your family, and we look forward to catching up with you again real soon. Go build a kick-ass business. See you on the next episode.